right. Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse. I was having a little technical difficulty, but I think we are good now. And it is mid-January already. It is Saturday, January 13th. And today I've got a little birding update for you guys. Some of you guys have sent in your photos and videos, which is always fun. As always, we love to know who's on. You can say hi in the comments. If you have any questions, you can throw those in there too. And we love to know what kind of things you're seeing. So put those in the comments. Absolutely. So let's get started. First of all, if you're in New York, if you're anywhere in New York, we're in upstate New York, Western New York. But the whole entire state is doing what's called a breeding bird atlas, and it has been going on for now 5 years. This is the 5th year, and it's the last year. And so this is something to keep in mind if you are out birding, to absolutely put your sightings into not only eBird, but the breeding bird atlas, which you can do through eBird, and I'll show you how. But we are in the last year of the atlas, and the atlas is a way for it's a citizen science project and a way for people to take a look at the populations of birds, see what's growing, see what's shrinking, see what birds are nesting where. And you can do that by not only submitting your sightings, but you submit any kind of behavior, like breeding bird behavior that you see. So that could be just a bird in a particular habitat, especially as we go into the spring, a bird that is singing and singing for more than a week straight. If you see a pair of birds, if you see a bird coming and going from a nesting site, all of that can be submitted into the breeding bird atlas. And you probably, if you are out there bird watching as already, you might already have all the tools that you need to submit data into the breeding bird atlas right at your fingertips. So if you're familiar with the eBird app, you can submit your sightings not only into eBird directly, but into the breeding bird atlas to have all of your data put into that. And it's really easy when you log into eBird. If you're on the eBird app, you go into your settings, and there is something that says portal when you go in there. And normally, especially if you're out of state, your portal will probably say eBird, although there are different breeding bird atlases going on in different states, depending on where you are and when. But you go to portal, and if you change your portal from eBird to New York Bird Atlas, that will submit all of your sightings into the breeding bird atlas. It still submits them into eBird too, so nothing changes on that end. You still can keep track of everything you've seen, all of your checklists, all that good stuff, but it also gets added to the breeding bird atlas. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are in New York. Just submit that data. This is the last year of the breeding bird atlas, and then that all gets compiled to see any kind of differences in populations and things like that. So something to keep in mind as we're getting into breeding bird season. Right now, the only birds that are going to be breeding are going to be some of those big birds of prey, like great horned owls and what have you. So you never know, you might happen to see them on a nest even this time of the year. So the last time we got together live here, we were talking about different color variations in birds. And since then, this was about a week ago, we've even gotten more reports from you guys of some different leucistic birds in the area, which is really interesting. So last week we showed some of these photos. We had this house sparrow. Stephanie sent in photos of that has some leucism. It's got that white tail. It's got some extra white patches on its wings. Lee sent in these photos of a robin that was also leucistic. We had Douglas send in this photo of a sparrow that was very leucistic. And we've gotten a couple more reports, 2 more reports of house sparrows with leucism just around our area. And we've also gotten these photos that were sent in by Kathy, who has a leucistic finch, looks like a house finch, coming to her window feeder, which has been really interesting. So you can see it's got a very, very white head. So we're not sure if it's a male or female. It could be that the red pigments that you usually see in the house finches are lacking in this bird, and that's what's causing it to have that white head. But more and more people are reporting some leucism around here, which is pretty fun and interesting. So you never know what you might see in your backyard. If you happen to see any kind of birds with these color variations, absolutely send them in and we'll share them here. Another photo that Kathy sent in was of this sharp-shinned hawk going after some birds in her backyard. So this is the time of year where you're probably going to see, if you're got bird feeders out and you're feeding birds regularly and you've got a whole bunch of songbirds coming, you'll probably start to see their predators, especially if the weather gets worse, if we get some snow and if we get those temperature drops that they're talking about. If you're in Buffalo, you're about to get jumped with a whole bunch of snow. So you might start to see more and more predators coming to your backyard, like sharp-shinned hawks or especially Cooper's hawks. So we were thinking this is a sharp-shinned hawk because it was she said it was very small, but then also its tail might be hard to tell from this photo here, but the tail is very straight. So usually with sharp-shinned hawks, their tail feathers are quite straight. With Cooper's hawks, they tend to be pretty rounded, and Cooper's hawks are going to be larger as well. Sharp-shinned hawks are really, really small. Sometimes they're only about the size of a mourning dove or a blue jay, so a really, really small bird of prey. So usually it's a Cooper's hawk that you'll see in your backyard going after your birds, but if you see a really, really little bird of prey going after them, that is going to be your sharp-shinned hawk. So Kathy sent in that photo too. And then I love this little picture of Carolina wrens. Siska sent in some photos here of a Carolina wren that has been visiting her backyard feeder. And this is one of those birds. So I was talking about the breeding bird atlas and how that can show changes in populations over time. This is one of those birds that is expanding its range. So this is your Carolina wren, which was typically found more in the south, but it's expanding its range, and it's seen here all winter long now. So you can find them coming to your suet feeders. If you have sunflower hearts out, those are perfect for Carolina wrens. Any of our blends that have mealworms in them too are always good, or if you keep freeze-dried mealworms out all winter long, you might see Carolina wrens coming. Our bugs, nuts, and fruit seed logs and suet cakes are super popular for the Carolina wrens and the bluebirds. If you happen to have bluebirds coming to your backyard in the winter, they'll eat from those. And I love these photos here sent in by Siska of the Carolina wren. So be on the lookout for them coming to your tube feeders, to your platform feeders, and your suet feeders. So you can tell it's a Carolina wren too. It's a little small brown bird, but they have those tails that will sometimes stick right up in the air. But the most defining thing, really, especially if you're seeing it from a distance, is that really bold stripe that's above the eye. So you can see that bright white stripe from quite a distance there. So that's your Carolina wren. And then snow geese. So snow geese are around, and in our area we have a huge snow goose migration that comes through around February. But this video, and we'll see if it plays here, was sent in by Mark, who saw this huge flock of snow geese out in Avon recently. So it's a really cool video there. Just thousands, it looks like, thousands of snow geese flying through. So keep your eyes out in fields for these snow geese. You can find them by water, but they will also hunker down in fields to feed throughout their migration. So if you're out looking for snow geese, if you're out looking in fields and it is getting towards dusk, be on the lookout for short-eared owls. It's also short-eared owl season around here, and they are another migratory bird that we have down here in the wintertime, and you'll see them coming out at dusk, hunting low over fields for small rodents, as well as northern harrier. So northern harrier are going to be out during the day, but sometimes they overlap, and the northern harrier and short-eared owls will be out at the same time, kind of competing for some food. But the northern harrier you can find during the day, same kind of thing, flying low over fields as they're hunting for some prey. And the male and female are different. They're sexually dimorphic is the fancy term for it. So the males are gray, like this is a photo here of the male, and then this is the female. So Northern Harrier are here. We have them all year round, and you can find them around fields, around marshes. They're also their old name used to be marsh hawk. You can find them over marshes. Same type of thing, flying low, hunting for their prey. But if you are out around any kind of open fields, you'll probably come across some kind of Northern Harrier at some point. And then also be on the lookout then for these other birds that migrate down here in the wintertime. This is a snow bunting, and we haven't gotten that much snow, but you can find snow buntings out. Again, in open fields is the best place to look for them. And they can have huge flocks as well. So sometimes you might just see one, sometimes, one or two you might see, or you might see a giant flock of the snow buntings like this photo here. And then another thing, if you're looking for birds out in open fields this time of the year, check out these horned larks. You might see them as well. And they've got kind of that yellowish face with a black mask over them. And they've got these feather tufts on the top of their heads that look like little horns. And that gives them their name. So just some things to be out on the lookout for this time of the year. It looks like we've got a couple of you guys online with comments here. Tree Climber says, good morning. Sore from shoveling 6 inches of heavy snow. The birds were out early watching me. So there's a little bit of reverse bird watching here with the birds watching Tree Climber here who is shoveling the snow. Yeah, get your shovels ready if you are anywhere in the Buffalo area because they're about to get hit, it sounds like, with quite a bit of snow. Karen's on and said, just had 4 flickers in the yard, along with 3 jays, 6 goldfinches, and a zillion sparrows. I feel you with the sparrows. I also think I have about a zillion sparrows in my backyard. But it sounds like Karen is getting flickers, which are a type of woodpecker, and it seems like they are more common coming to feeders, at least, in the wintertime. So if you've got your suet feeder out and you're usually getting things like red-bellied woodpecker, for example, and if you see a woodpecker that's about the same size, but it's more speckly in the breast and it's got almost like a little mustache kind of coloration, that's going to be your northern flicker. And yeah, they seem to be more common in the winter. Coming to suet feeders, probably because food is a little bit more scarce. They're usually on the ground flicking away leaf litter and things like that, looking for food. So it can be hard for them to do that if we have any kind of snow cover, and they tend to come to feeders a little bit more often this time of the year. So it looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for the day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Tuesday with another broadcast. And until then, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.